Welcome back to CfTesla. The time has finally come. We are so close to getting the full self-drive beta, being a part of that program, and I mean in mass release. And we're going to talk a lot about that today, how you can make sure that you not only get the button, but you can actually get access to the program after you push it. Now, for a lot of us, we're going to get that program, but for some of you, you're going to totally blow it, so make sure you pay attention. Now, there are two types of Tesla owners and people that think about Tesla. There's the fanboys like me, people that really believe in Tesla, where they're going, people that believe in full self-drive and that it's coming and not in 25 years. The other group says people like me drink the Kool-Aid, and we take pride in the fact that we annoy everyone within a 10-foot radius of us because we can't stop talking about it. And then there's a second group of people that drive Teslas, and they mostly just bought the Tesla because they think they maybe look cool, they're economical, they don't really believe in the overall vision of Tesla and the full self-driving, and they feel like the rest of us who do believe in all of that are a little bit nuts. So if you're in that first group, this video is meant for you. If you're in that second group, well, you can go. So here's what we're going to talk about today. When are we going to get the button? What happens when you press the button? What you need to be aware of to make sure you don't lose it? How do you qualify to actually get full self-drive once you press that button? And what's the first thing you should do after you qualify for full self-drive? Okay, so a few days ago, Elon tweeted, good feedback from full self-drive beta 10 users. 10.1 rollout a week from Friday with beta request button. He was then asked, will everyone get the beta right away, or about how many upon beta request button? So basically he was being asked, so if everyone pushed the button, how many of us are going to actually get it? Because it does say request, not get. So then Elon responded, beta button will request permission to access driving behavior upon Tesla insurance calculator. And we're going to get to what that means here in just a minute in detail. If driving behavior is good for 7 days, beta access will be granted. Okay, so what does all that mean? It means that for the rest of us who are not in the beta program, that version 10.1, when we receive that here in hopefully a week, will be the merger between driving on just freeways, interstate mostly, to having all the city driving, city turning, all that. It's going to all become one now for us. Now, like most of Elon's tweets, there's always some room for interpretation. I swear the guy is so smart, he does it on purpose. But he says in there that for 7 days, we're going to look at your behavior. He doesn't say 7 days after you push the button, so he could mean we're going to look at the last 7 days. But I highly doubt that because, as many people have already pointed out, when you press the button, when it does come and you push it, you're going to have to agree to certain disclosures saying that Tesla has the ability then to look at all your metrics. So I'm pretty sure that means the following 7 days. So for this video, that's what we're going to focus on. Now, if you have a mind like me, you probably said, wow, no problem. Can't get in trouble if I'm not doing anything. I'll leave the car just parked inside of the garage and then I'll be safe and basically not drive it for those 7 days. But that's not how insurance works. They do need some metrics to actually judge on. So if you're thinking, I'm just going to take my car and park it in a garage, don't do that. I'm pretty sure that's going to actually go against you. And the last thing you want is to give up your 7 days that you just requested and not actually get qualified because you just drove a different car for those 7 days. It's kind of like the whole thing of having no credit is worse than having a low credit score. You kind of need to have something to look at. It's not so much, are you driving poorly and you do have bad driving behavior, but it's more, do you have good behavior and you're someone we want to help promote this full self-drive program. And one other thing, you're not going to have to push this button on Friday. So don't think that on Friday, it's like if you don't press it, you don't get the next 7-day trial. I think it's just going to exist, and whenever you're ready to press the button, you can then go ahead and press it and start your 7-day trial period to see if you can qualify for the beta. So if you've got a big trip planned or some other event that you don't really want to be in that trial period, just don't press it yet. Just wait until you know you've got a good week of regular average driving ahead of you. So let's talk about how the button actually works. And of course, we don't know exactly how the button's going to work. We don't even know exactly where the button's going to be. We assume it's going to be down where the software updates button is, where you have the ability to put it onto advanced updating or normal, which by the way, advanced means you want to be part of all the beta programs. So if you don't have that set to advanced right now, I would highly suspect you're not going to get the actual full self-drive button. Advanced means you want to be part of the beta, get it, in advance of them being 100%. Now, if I didn't mention it already, you do have to have already paid for the full self-drive beta program to be a part of this. So if you have not paid for it, I know I'm going to get like 20 comments on this anyway, but I want to make it clear. If you just bought the Tesla and you did not pay for the full self-driving package, you will not get this button. This is only for people who have paid for the full self-driving package. So I suspect it will be down there in the settings area, but it's also possible that when you get into your car after the update, it's a pop-up on your screen like we often see with software updates, things like that. So I think that it'll at least be down in the software area or the software update area, but it's also very possible that we'll see it in other areas as well to make sure that you notice it. Okay, so the big question then. So what are the actual metrics then that Tesla's going to be looking at to see if you qualify over those next 7 days? I mean, this is going to be the thing that I think most people are going to be focused on and wanting to know about. So we're going to spend some time talking about that because Elon said it's going to be based off the metrics used in their insurance calculator. And if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about when I say insurance calculator, because maybe you don't know of Tesla as an insurance company, if you live in California, they have auto insurance, and part of how they price their auto insurance is through a certain set of metrics that they judge the driver by. And if you do really well and you have a high score, then you basically get cheaper insurance. And if you do worse, you drive more aggressively, and we're going to go through all those in a minute, then you're going to get charged more. So they're using those same metrics for everybody. When you press that button, it's going to say, you can now look at all my metrics the same way as people that have insurance in California have to do. And then they're going to look at that, and if you look like a high risk, they're just simply not going to give it to you. So the first metric they're going to be looking at is something called ABS activation. ABS stands for anti-lock brake system. Now, if you have a newer vehicle, this is something that's been around a long time, and you're probably very familiar with this. But if you're not, and maybe you have a vehicle, but you're just not really aware what it does, is if you slam on your brake really, really hard, and this mostly happens in slippery conditions, but it can happen in other conditions as well, but you press it really hard, and it's very easy when you slam on your brakes for one of your wheels to lock up, and when one of your wheels lock up, that's how it increases your odds of spin out. You're braking traction, and it's very dangerous. So what ABS does is it pumps your brakes rather than locking up your tires. It'll pump your brakes, and you'll feel it on your pedal as it does it. And so what Tesla is saying is, how many times is that happening? ABS is also speed sensitive, so it doesn't happen at low speeds. Once you're at a certain speed, I don't know what it is, they actually start working. So if you're getting signals and you're activating your ABS, chances are, and this is how insurance companies looking at it, is that you're driving aggressively, you're going really fast and having to make very aggressive stops, where if you were leaving the right amount of distance and all that, a normal brake, way of doing it, just gradual pressing would have been fine. So the fact that you're slipping, maybe you live in a dangerous location, maybe you're driving up to the slopes, I don't know. But the point is, for the next 7 days, the way to easily avoid this is obviously leave lots of space between you and the car in front of you. Don't take it to anywhere that could be slippery or high risk for ABS activation. This seems like a pretty simple one to avoid, but that's what they're going to be looking for. In the first metric is how often is that going to actually be engaged. And so you should be able to get a nice score of 0 on that one. Now, if you've ever applied for auto insurance, you know this next one is pretty obvious, which is hours driven. We talked about this, that you need to have some hours on it, but you don't want to have a lot of hours. An insurance company is going to charge you more if you're in your vehicle more. The longer you're in the car, the higher risk of incident. So I think for this one, the best way to handle this is to just don't take your long road trip on that week coming up. Drive your commute to work, drive your kids to ballet, wherever, but just don't go over and beyond. You definitely need some metrics to look at, but don't specifically go out there to put on a ton of miles on the car over that week. I mean, they're listing this here because it's not a positive, it's a negative thing. Hours driven too many is not a good thing in this situation. The third metric they're going to look at is something called forced autopilot disengagements. Now, this is different than autopilot disengagements. It's called forced. So that means the car is disengaging autopilot, not you. So it's not talking about you turning a corner or the car's driving and you get nervous, so you grab the wheel and disengage it, or you hit the brake, or you push up the right gear stalk to disengage. It means the car looked at what it was doing, it had been sending you alerts and you're ignoring them, so it itself turned off autopilot. That's a forced disengagement. Probably the most obvious version of this is when people just ignore the fact that they're supposed to touch a steering wheel, and then the car just disengages autopilot right there for that. But you can get it for a lot of other things as well. Going through really weird intersections, the car is telling you to touch the wheel, grab the wheel, take over driving, whatever, and you just simply don't. So if you get an alert over the next 7 days following this, and obviously past that, we're just talking strictly about the 7 days, just grab the wheel, take over, don't let the car disengage itself forcefully. Just pay attention to the alerts. This again should be one of these things that is it's a no-brainer. Don't let it happen. I don't know if I could count, on one hand how many times this actually happened to me, and I'm testing autopilot in the most stupid, crazy places I can. So for the average driver out there, this should not be an issue. Once again, you should have disengagements that are force of 0 by the end of that 7 days. Now the fourth one is the one I think is going to actually get everybody. If any of them are going to really get you, it's probably going to be this one, which is unsafe following times. And what this is referring to is the amount of time you spend following too close to someone else. So all you tailgaters out there, yeah, now you're getting payback. But remember too, with a lot of these, that if you're in autopilot, if you're using autopilot, it's going to keep you within the right metrics anyway. You're going to be safe. Really, you have to do this to yourself to miss out on this program. I have always set my following distance on autopilot or adaptive cruise control to 3 car lengths, but I'm probably going to put it to 4 or 5 car lengths, at least for this next week. I think 3 car lengths is plenty. I think it gives you, I've never had an instance where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't stop, and I've had to. It's done a great job with that, but I would probably move it a little further behind just to keep it safe, keep yourself in that big wide buffer so you're not going to get tagged for this one. And again, just like the other ones, if you're using autopilot, you're not going to be in trouble. It's going to keep you in that right distance. And keep in mind that they know when you're going slow, you're going to have a smaller gap than when you're driving really fast. So like, don't be that guy that leaves like 7 car lengths and dead stop traffic on the highway. That just is obviously not going to make a difference. Just based upon your speed, just be smart about it. And a lot of these things, again, we all do naturally. Just be aware of them after you press that button. Be very conscious and intentional when you go out there to drive. And this last one is another one that I think is going to get a lot of people, and that is the intensity of accelerating and braking. And this last one is exactly as it sounds. They're going to be watching for extreme cases of accelerating and braking. Again, that's just getting back to them looking to see, are you driving aggressively with the car? And you just got to keep in mind as you're going through all of this that Tesla is putting this out there. It's a beta. They know it's not perfect. They know regulators are watching. There's so many people that want Tesla to fail here. There's so much negativity around the beta program. I bet right now in this point in the video, I got 20 or 30 comments down there right now saying that this is not going to happen. It's going to be a huge disaster. It's going to cause tons of accidents. Everyone's going to implode. This is going to be a terrible thing. And I don't know what it's going to do, but we all need to be very, very careful here that if you get in this program, that we are representing Tesla and we're representing full self-drive, and we got to try to be good boys. So quick accelerating, quick braking, there's no reason to do that in normal driving. The only reason why you quickly accelerate usually is because you're just trying to race, you're just in a hurry, whatever. And then quick braking suggests that you're going way too fast and too close to the car in front of you, which again are also things that a car company or insurance company are going to be concerned about. So just don't do that. Drive normal. So those are the metrics that they're going to be looking for. So you guys can see that it's not that difficult. Most of you guys are already doing that every day anyway. And I'm realizing that I probably shouldn't wear a hat in my studio here because it's shading half of my face. There, that's better. Right, so what happens now after you push the button and you've done your 7 days of trial and you've been awarded the full self-drive beta program? You are now part of the elite. What happens now? Do you get to start being a bad boy? I don't think so. I think that Elon was pretty clear that you've got 7 days, but I also think that after that, you've only just qualified to get it. Now you got to qualify to keep it. So I'm under the impression, at least this is what I'm thinking and I'm suggesting to you here, otherwise follow this, that you got to continue using those exact same metrics when you're not on autopilot or on full self-drive to actually keep being in the program. We have heard of people being pulled out of the beta program because their hands weren't on the wheel and they're trying some sketchy stuff. So I don't see why Tesla would just stop monitoring after those 7 days. So my advice, treat those days following like you did those 7. Basically just drive good always. Hey, and if you want to go and race your car and, go on the back roads and do whatever you want to do that, great. But I wouldn't do that if you want to be part of this beta program. I'm pretty sure this is for people that are like, I can give all that up, at least with this car, and I just want to be part of the full self-driving, adventure. So let's close this video about talking about what to do when you actually get the beta program and you're in it now. Because most of us have never done anything like this in the city. They've never gone through dealing with pedestrians. We haven't been turning corners. There's a lot of unknown there. And you're going to have a whole huge amount of people that all of a sudden have access to this. So what should you do first? Well, the first thing I would suggest is don't go into your big city that you've never driven before to give this thing a try and get used to it. Go back to spots that you're used to using it on every day. You're used to the streets. You know what to expect in terms of corners, traffic, drivers, that sort of thing. And start there. Start small. Start in other corners, areas, weird roads around your house, places where you can kind of get familiar with how the program's going to work and build your confidence in it. And then slowly progress into more advanced areas with more people, more turns, maybe one-way streets, all of that. But don't just go straight out there to it. That's how you're gonna find yourself getting probably a little bit more in trouble. And like anything, you just wanna build a little bit of confidence up with something in places where no one's being endangered, but you're not, before you go into something like that. So this is gonna be fun. I can't wait to get this. Like so many of you guys have been telling me in all the different chats, we're ready, man. Thank you. 10.1, here we go. Friday to Friday, let's do this, guys. Let's obey the rules and get out there and start making some awesome memories driving these cars. I want to hear about it on our private Facebook group. I want to hear about it here. I want to hear about it on Twitter. I want you guys to fill me up with all kind of your cool experiences. I want you guys to email me and post cool videos that you've ran into that your car did stuff good on. Maybe I'll share some of them on the channel. But let's talk about how great this is. And if you hear about other people doing stupid stuff, man, just walk up to them and give them an outside. Just right at the top of their head, because they're messing it up for the rest of us. All right, that's it. I'm out on this one, guys. See you on the next one.